Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out Zombinsanity by J. Armstrong Games. I have to say from the top, I'm not a huge fan of the name, but the game itself is extremely fun. This is feels like a bit of a cross between something like Rogue Legacy on one hand, and then on the other hand something a little bit like the Nazi Zombies mode from Call of Duty. Roll those two together and maybe give it a little bit of like a Plants vs. Zombies graphical aesthetic, and then you have sort of an idea of where to start with this one. The idea is also that it's randomly generated each time that you play it, so there's a little bit of an impetus to keep playing over and over again, and try and boost your character's starting stats so that way each time you get a little bit further, and in that respect I think it's quite successful. So let's take it for a little bit of a spin. I spent about a half an hour with this one, which is a lot more than I usually spend, but it's sort of a testament to how quickly this one will grab you. If you're not really ready for it, all of a sudden you'll find you spend a few minutes. But let's hit the play button and we'll do continue so you can see some of the more weapons than you would usually have. So here's our character. We start out in the space station. I'm not sure exactly why there's zombies in space, but who cares? Let's roll with it. So we basically have access to just one weapon from the start, and that weapon is a pistol. But as you defeat more and more zombies, you get access to funds. Those funds can be spent on weapon upgrades, and of course also as you kill zombies you'll be increasing in experience, which you actually don't seem to have an experience meter anywhere in the game, but after you finish one run of the game, when you're finally defeated, you get to actually spend stat points if you actually make it to a level. There is also your bullets, of course, up in the top there, and you only use bullets on the weapons besides the pistol. So we can bring up, there's actually this Uzi here, which is actually pretty nice, and a shotgun, which I've unlocked, and then lastly, I've also unlocked an M16. M16 totally cuts through bullets, but is extremely powerful, so if you need to take down large hordes of those zombies, that's definitely the choice. There's also these cover pieces, which will get eroded as zombies smash into them over time, so there's a little bit of that Plants vs. Zombies, like a nut wall setup, and you can see you can repair them by pressing spacebar. Control is also very simple. Spacebar to interact with things, and WASD, and of course mouse cursor to point in the direction that you want to point in. I've turned off the mouse cursor for the purpose of this video, so hopefully you get the idea by where my gun is pointing. You will also notice that there is a map in the bottom right corner, which is going to basically determine where we want to go. It's a little bit like Smash TV. If I press spacebar here, this is an up, so that's going to take me to the room above it. Yeah, it's fairly self-explanatory, I suppose. And those are jump pads, which you have to press W on to actually high jump off of. That room gave me a few moments here to get ready before the zombies spawned in, but I don't think we're going to have too much trouble. These guys are still early. This is only round 2, but thankfully they did drop a little bit of ammo for me, so I shouldn't have much difficulty. And in case you're wondering, I've only spent 2 points so far in terms of upgrades. I've spent points on my health, and I've spent a point on upgrading my pistol, so I have a little bit better of a starting weapon. Seems to make it slightly more powerful, and I accidentally opened up the item shop there. I didn't actually mean to do that. But you can see pistol starts out ready, and then each one of these would cost an incrementally larger amount of money. Up through sniper, rocket launcher, machine gun, and mine launchers. There's quite a few different guns that you can accumulate. These two seem to be out of order for whatever reason. Other than that, they seem to be going in increasing values. But I only have $560, so I have quite a bit of grinding left to do before we get to the point where that's going to be viable. And I will show you what it looks like to repair one of these. You can't actually repair and shoot at the same time, also, in case you're wondering. I do have a couple of criticisms for this game, one of those being that you can't seem to remap the controls, which I find a little bit frustrating. This does seem like the type of game that would be very well suited to go with 2 thumbsticks, so if you wanted to be playing this on like a 360 controller, this would actually feel pretty natural, I have a feeling, but you can't really do much with it. And unfortunately, W is mapped to jump permanently, and I feel like spacebar felt like the slightly more natural one, and W seeming to be interact it would have probably made more sense to me, but I don't know, maybe that's just me. You are also probably noticing these guard posts. You can actually unlock survivors occasionally, which you can post on those points and use them sort of like turrets, I suppose. I haven't actually unlocked any of those yet, so I'm not sure exactly what they do, but I'm going to presume they probably use up your resources and or at least defeat zombies. Let's go on to the next room here. So we're going to keep moving up and get into another more difficult wave. Occasionally you run into a bonus room as well, and I'm hoping we get to see one of those because it has kind of an adorable little surprise that I wasn't expecting. Is this? Yeah, this is a zombie room. You can tell as soon as you get into it because it says zombies are spawning in X amount of seconds. It would be nice if some rooms they give you a longer amount of time, because sometimes maybe you didn't get a weapon room in a while, so you might be hurting for some kind of a new weapon to try something out on. or maybe you have a lot of money and you want to spend that before you get put in a position where you might get killed. And that is the case, by the way. You keep all your upgrades, but you lose your money. So if you find yourself in a position where you're about to die, best bet, if you can, just spend all your money right away on an upgrade or a new weapon or something like that. Because basically once you die, you're going to lose that stuff anyway, so you might as well try and get something better out of it for progression's sake, because then you won't have to buy that weapon again later anyway. I do enjoy the effects to everything. It feels like the music, the sound effects, the graphics all seem quite lovely, if maybe a little bit generic in some respects, but I do enjoy the music very much. It sort of reminds me a little bit of one of the tracks from the Super Meat Boy soundtrack for the action music, which is kind of a big deal because there's not a lot of games that I find are quite that enjoyable that I would compare to Super Meat Boy. It's one of my favorite soundtracks anyway. So let's keep on going. We've got 5 more seconds here. Weapon shop on this level. I am not quite to the point where I can buy the next upgrade, which is a sniper rifle, which I'm not sure if I even want necessarily anyway. The assault rifle seems to do pretty much everything I could need out of it, and it almost one-shots everything. There are upgrades for the individual weapons as well. I believe they take 1 point each, but it takes quite a while to unlock a single point, so chances are you're going to want to augment either your health or your starting weapon, or perhaps your ammo capacity. There's also an upgrade for the amount of survivors I guess you can have on screen at once. I have not even found a single survivor, so I guess that's a little bit beyond me. It could add sort of like an alien syndrome element where there's survivors all around, but I think that's more useful for... they're sort of using that as a gameplay convention, as some progression mechanic to help you fight everything, because that's really what this is all about, is fighting stuff off. And I was a little bit bad at how I was dodging things there. I was a little bit occupied with my commentary and took a blast from one of those zombie puke waves or whatever that is. And there are new zombies, by the way, as you keep going on further. So we got like a quarter or like maybe a third of a level on that one. We didn't get any upgrade tokens, unfortunately, but you can see what those things would have been had I gotten one. Could upgrade our NPC limit, our rebuild speed in case you want to rebuild those bunkers or fortifications. Our max ammo can go up. And I thought these were 0-0 until I actually bought a point and realized it just puts that little node in there for you. So, yeah. So there's only 2 upgrades for each one, and then 1 per each weapon. So it's not like you're going to be at this for a very long time. It's not quite like Rogue Legacy level of depth, but it is definitely quite replayable and very addictive, and I found myself rather engrossed by this game in a very short amount of time. And for the most part, it feels quite responsive. The combat feels enjoyable. There is a little bit of a level of dexterity to it, because if you watch, I can kind of hop in and out of the zombies without taking a hit as long as I jump around a little bit or keep moving. So I guess you could sort of kite the zombies around, and I think that's probably what you're going to have to do as things get a lot more difficult. Anything past about wave 3 or 4, and you're going to be in a little bit of trouble if you aren't trying to move yourself in a rather careful way. The other thing I wanted to mention, too, is with this weapon thing, like, I can switch weapons all I want, but I have to click on each one. And I was thinking, again, this sort of feels like it really was destined to be used with a 360 controller, because I sort of feel like that maps perfectly to the right analog stick or something. But in this case, you actually have to highlight and then click, so it's not like you can do a quick gestural weapon switch, which sometimes maybe you want to do in the heat of battle. Fortunately, though, they do stop battle for you, so it's not like you have to try and make those moves on the fly. You know, it could have been a little bit more obnoxious, and thankfully it wasn't. So let's try a few more rounds here. I wanted to see if I could get to one of these bonus rooms or at least unlock another new weapon or something, but I think you probably get a decent idea of what this game is about at this point. I also am kind of curious what new zombie types we're going to run into as we get further into the game. Can I one-shot? Oh yeah, I can actually one-shot these heads with a single pistol bullet, which is more than I could do at the beginning, and I'm not sure why I keep opening that by accident. I think it's because I keep hitting spacebar thinking that's going to make me jump. But nope, it is not spacebar, it is W every single time. The zombies are surprisingly dexterous. Some of them seem to have quite a bit of agility and hop around quite a bit. Actually, almost all of them tend to hop around quite a bit. It's just a few that seem to saunter very slowly. The majority of the rest of them can pretty much chase you around, which is probably the way it should be. With the one exception of the fact that this is a very constrictive set of corridors, and for the most part, you're going to be running around into dead ends. So it's not like you have a lot of options in terms of ways to deal with combat. It's sort of like you're going to find a position, try and stick to it for a little while, and why don't I use the shotgun for a moment here so you can see what that looks like. Not like it's got the most punch to it, but it does get the job done if you find yourself getting overwhelmed. And by the way, the bullet casings do actually stick around on the screen, as well as like little bits of brain and chunks of the enemies that you've destroyed, which is a nice touch. and I definitely enjoy things like that. If they could have added perhaps a little bit more like combat deformation when you shoot the zombies, that would have felt kind of nice, or headshots, and maybe that's a thing coming up later on in the game. They have to aim for the head or something, but right now it doesn't seem like it makes any difference in the amount of damage that they take. It seems like sort of a natural thing that's just kind of a surprising omission, in my opinion anyway. So we'll take out a few more waves here. I just really wanted to see if we could find that bonus room. If I don't, though, I will go ahead and spoil what's in it, because it's pretty funny. Anyway, let's knock down a couple more of these guys. This isn't a very long wave at wave 3. Once we start to get to like 4 or 5, though, like I said earlier, it is definitely going to become a bit more challenging. It almost feels like it would be nice if you could skip ahead a little bit right from the beginning, because the first few waves are rather dull, especially when you have mostly very slow zombies that you're fighting. But I guess I could try to run through the rooms a little bit more quickly, too. Which way do I want to go? I guess I could go up. I'm not really sure if there's a particular reason why you know you'd want to go in a certain direction on the map, because, like I said, the maps are kind of randomized anyway. Oh, I think I found a survivor, but do I have enough to buy... What is that? Buy a soldier for $500. Might as well, right? Instructions. Survivors will fight alongside you. You can assign them guard posts, medic, and repair station by pressing space next to them, choosing survivor. Okay. Well, I guess that makes perfect sense then. I think I would rather just keep you right next to me, though. I think that would probably make more sense. Maybe we could shoot these guys down together. And it looks like he just comes with a default standard old pistol, which is probably not going to be a huge help. I have a feeling this guy's probably going to get demolished fairly quickly. It seems to be a bug, too. I don't know if this is just because I'm recording, but I've noticed that I seem to be able to occasionally lose control of my character and start running in one direction or the other. It might just be, like I said, because I have fraps running, and this is a Flash-based game as far as I know, so that, you know, sometimes has caused issues. Or maybe it's a latency thing. I don't know. Shouldn't be calling back to the internet anyway, even though it is online. Okay, so that spitting zombie took out our soldier there, and that would be a big health pack that just dropped. Let's switch back to, let's switch the Uzi. Make sure you see a little bit. Oh, wow, hardly got a chance to really use that very much. But anyway, survived 4 waves. Will I get an upgrade from this? It doesn't look like it. I guess it already filled in, and I only moved a tiny little bit. So I did kind of poorly there. Or maybe you're supposed to take longer and longer to reach each level, and the expectation is that I'll be getting further, and I haven't. Since you can see my best is 6 waves, I've only made it to 4 each time, so... Oh well. Guess that'll probably do it. The game tends to be very easy to get lost in and keep playing it over and over again because it just boots you right straight back into the game. But yeah, it's very easy to just notice a bunch of time has gone by. I think this is a pretty fun game. Again, not a huge fan of Zombinsanity being the title. I think that's a very generic name, especially in such an oversaturated genre as something filled with zombies tends to be, especially since it's sort of like a hybridized, sort of like tower defense, real-time action game. And those by themselves tend to be a bit oversaturated, but, you know, I don't really have any issues with something being oversaturated if it's just fun, and I feel like this is. So, say what you will about zombies, maybe they're played out, but occasionally they still play host to a pretty good experience, and this is one of those times, I feel. So, anyway, I'd say give this a shot. Let me know what you think in the comments. It is totally free, so it's not like you have to pay anything for it, and I would love to hear what you have to say about any of the things I just mentioned. You know, do you feel like this is a stale genre or subgenre? Are you sick of zombies? Do you find that this is fun regardless? Any of the things that I just went over, I'd love to hear your opinions on. So that, and then of course, check out the description for the link to the game, of course, and then also my other social media information. If you're interested, you know, my Twitter, my Facebook, pretty much any of the stuff I do, including my Twitch, where I live stream indie games occasionally. And then, of course, indie-impressions.com. If you're interested, there is a ton of other stuff to do over there. Tons more videos in this series, so if you're interested in more indie games, there are over 600 other videos that I've done. So feel free to stop by. They're all sorted and categorized over there, so you can look for a specific type of game. If you're looking for Steam games or free games, Desera games, action games, shooters, whatever you want, they're all sorted over there for you. So that is going to do it for another day, guys. Thank you so much for your continued support and for watching. And I hope you'll come back again tomorrow. New episodes of Indie Impressions go up every single day without exception. So I will see you back for that. Hope you enjoyed the video and the game, and I will see you later.